to Earth Network with your host, Sean Myrie. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yup, it's late night news, and I'm giving it to you. Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, a variety of things, uh, especially with traveling to America. Now, I'm in Canada, and there's a border we share. So now it's not good. Before it was a little bit better. When 9/11 happened, everything changed, but especially now with Trump, what he's doing right now. And we kind of heard about this a while ago. He's just bringing it up again. I heard about this years ago, actually, but some people didn't believe it, but he's enforcing it. Basically, he could search, or when you go to America from Canada, they're going to look if you have social media. They're going to look up all your social media. And if it's not desirable to them, you ain't getting into America. They want to look up all types of business about the individual that's coming into America. They rightfully can do it, but they're searching all social media and I think even bank records. So they want to know your personal business, right? Coming from Canada, they want to know about your banking. They want to know about your social media. They probably want to know if you are working, right? So, right now, for any Canadian, right, it's making it really not desirable to go visit America. Not desirable to go to America because your freedoms that you enjoy, which nobody's really free, but they are going to search in your phone for anything what doesn't comply with their standards. They're going to ask you about it. And if you can't answer, you ain't getting into America. That's what's going on. If you can't explain yourself about a post on social media like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, what they don't like, you are not getting into America, especially coming from Canada. And other places may be the same, but especially Canada because we speak English, right? And they could understand a lot of stuff. Now, Canada, I found out 70% of the tourism in America, 70% of the tourism in America comes from Canada. Did you know that? That 70% of the tourism comes from Canada. A lot of people go to Florida, snowbirds. A lot of people go to Las Vegas from Canada. And I'm hearing because it's kind of like a boycott, Canadians are not going as much. They're losing millions, if not billions, of dollars because of the strict restrictions, whatever they're putting on. Looking at your social media, want to know about your bank information. Who wants to give your bank information to that government right now? So Canadians make up 70% of the tourism in America. That's big. And now he's making it very hard for Canadians to even go, even charging Canadians even more to travel to America. This is all about the whole beef with the 51st state and shit like that, right? He wants Canada to bend. I'm talking about Trump, Mr. Donald Trump. So anyone who talks bad about Donald Trump, especially coming from Canada, and you're on social media, you ain't getting in. If you talk about their system, their politics, you ain't getting in. So I ain't gonna be in America no times, no time soon will you see me down there because they're searching in your social media and your bank information. If not more, they're looking you up fully. And what doesn't help is that they're blaming us for the drugs. Let me see what you're saying, brother. Let's see what you're saying. What is it called when you can't change color? I don't know. But right now, you cannot travel. to America if you're from Canada without explaining yourself. That's what's going on. They want to search your social media and they want to look you up. And Canada, 70% of your tourists are Canadians. So you're going to lose a lot of tourism, a lot of money. Donald Trump is hurting America. I don't know if this is in the plan, but he could be the downfall of the empire in America. Like, I guess he doesn't care because he only has a limited time left, right? And he's getting old, so he's just putting out everything out there right now. But he's hurting his tourism, and he's hurting business. He's hurting a lot of business with these tariffs, right? So that's not a good look. First, you're making the border hard for Canadians to get through, and then you want to search all the social media. You want to look up the person. Yeah, I understand that, but and then you're charging more money for Canadians to come to go to America, and 70% of your tourism comes from Canada. Las Vegas is losing money. Las Vegas because Canadians ain't going there as much. Florida, could you afford it? Yo, Donald Trump, what are you doing? Even your hotels are gonna take a hit because you're doing all this shit, right? Man, a lot of stuff is going on. A lot of stuff is going on. And it's crazy, man. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I understand you have a beef with Canada and everything. You wanted it to be the 51st state, but it didn't. That's not happening. So you're punishing Canadians by saying we're going to charge you more to come. It's going to be harder for you to come into the country, and we're going to do all types of checks on you. I guess they blame Canadians for bringing in a lot of illegal immigrants, so that's why they're bringing this, being really strict, right? But it's hurting them at the same time being really strict, right? So now that's what Mr. Donald Trump is doing. That's what he's doing. And he wanted to take over TikTok. You don't hear about that anymore. You notice? Because I don't know if people know this, but probably secretly, right? It's going to turn over to America. That's what I'm hearing, that TikTok is going to change its name soon. So all the people who are hot on TikTok right now, because it's a Chinese company or a guy from China is the owner of the company, but America obviously made him bend in some way that they're gonna have American version or something. They're doing some type of things in back of the scene. So anybody who's big right now is probably, just get what you could get now before it changes the algorithm. Because once America controls it, it's not gonna be the same. Let me say it again. It's not an American platform, if a lot of people don't know. It's not an American platform. But once America controls it, the algorithm will change and restrictions will change. If you think it's strict now, imagine when America fully takes over. Because you're hearing they're going to ban it. You remember Trump threatened a couple times to ban TikTok, but it's still going on for now, right? So even TikTok admitted they make people big. They admitted they make people big, right? I'm not surprised. But like I said, it's hot now. Get ready for it to change. And the algorithm is owned by an Asian Chinese businessman right now. The China's version is completely different than the American version. So America, right? They done their research. They want to have their version too. So it's going to change. A lot of things are going on in the world. What's going to change? A lot of big things is going on, right? So now we're hearing news, which is not surprising to me. And it's not just the American government that they could hear everything through your phone. through the electronics, through your TV, right? You notice a lot of TVs are smart TVs. Everything is more high tech than ever. Even back 20 years ago, they could do the same thing. I've been hearing that they could hear through the prongs, right? So I'm not surprised, right? You ever watch Enemy of the State with Will Smith? Yes. So why are they revealing this to the public? Because there's a lot of people whose heads been in the sand for years, and they want to kind of announce it to tell you that we're watching you, right? Some people don't give a shit. I already know they've been watching from a long time. No matter what you use, even this platform, as long as you're on the platform they control, right? They see everything, they know everything. So unless you have something to hide, you're using their system, their satellites, whatever they could hear and see everything, right? So it's not new news to me. It's basically old news. They're just telling you that we're watching you. Like they want to tell people who don't know better, who think that they're not being watched. Yes, you're being watched more than ever because of social media and the popularity of it, and the phones, the easy access, and the smart TVs and stuff like that. They are watching. So that is something what's been going on for a while. Over 20 years they've been doing that. Over 20 years they've been doing that. Now, besides Big Brother, they're talking about everybody's talking about this polar vortex that we're going to have unusual the places that are cold already with colder weather like Canada. We're going to have unusual weather, big storms, more colder than ever, right? I don't know how they know this, but they're saying that. Like, you ever wonder they're telling you this? Like they're a psychic, that they could tell you when the weather is going to be a certain type of way. How do they know this, right? Unless they control it. So they're saying there's going to be some type of, or it's going on right now, polar vortex in North Americas or wherever there's weather that's cold. It's coming. Right now it's winter. It's December. It's been not too bad, but they're saying we're going to have unusual winters in the places that get the winter cold weather. So that's what they're saying. They be saying a lot on the internet. Right now, it's funny that you could go on Instagram and the stuff what they used to call conspiracy theorists, they put it out there the most. They're talking the most about things where they used to say people are crazy for reverse psychology and making it like it's actually real, this is it's normal when they were criticizing people, calling them crazy people for believing in aliens, for believing in all these supernatural things, and now it's accepted right now. So that's what's going on. And let's go back to the powers that be technology, uh, like on this platform, for example. If you talk certain things, they got the algorithm called Gemini right now. You talk certain types of things, they filter out the system. They have something called Gemini on YouTube now. They probably had it before. They're just telling you this. They filter out the system. So just say if even 100 people was tuning in, or they're trying to tune in, they could control who's viewing this right now. They could control, unless what we call a revolution, people are sharing it like crazy. So they will filter out what they want to go what we call viral. But if I was on here doing some reckless stuff, maybe had an individual on here, the views might go up even more, way more. So they filter out when you're talking the truth. They do. They filter out what you're saying, right? They will block people from viewing. They got that control. They do it on Instagram, right? They block out people on Instagram. things what you post. If they feel that it's not desirable on Instagram, they could block it. On TikTok, they could block it. On Twitch, they could block it. So YouTube, they could do the same thing. You don't have to be cursing. You don't have to be smoking. All you have to do is talk about something that's real. And when you talk about something what's real, that they will filter out. If you talk about fantasy, like let's talk about like Marvel comics or some type of movie, that might go, it might get more views, might get more views. So this is what's going on out there in the universe, right? They are controlling the narrative. They want to control everything you view and you listen to, right? That's why, for example, in hip hop, right now for a good while, the message been negative, been really negative, right? Or like for example, certain genres die off, like R&B that used to push a lot of love songs. Now you don't even hear love songs anymore. So that kills the algorithm and controls something. Think of it. It kills an algorithm and controls something. So people, music is very powerful. So if you're listening to music and you're not listening to anything with love, what does that do? Think of it. If you're listening to the music which is influential, energy, and you see, nothing. R&B's around, but it's not popular. What's popular, what goes viral, is negative. So negative gets pushed. Positive doesn't get pushed. What's what's positive getting pushed? But so much. What are they pushing? What's positive? Think of it. What positive stuff is getting pushed? They might talk about there's cures, they might talk about all these inventions to further humankind, but that's not really getting promoted. You got to kind of save it or you got to share it somewhere so um, it doesn't disappear. That doesn't get promoted. That does not get promoted. What gets promoted is celebrity news, especially negativity, right? Because that's entertainment, right? For example, 50 Cent done that documentary with Netflix about Diddy. It's getting the most attention because it's something negative. It's something negative. So it's getting a lot of attention. Anybody who just, for example, Marlon Wayans, one of the Wayans brothers, better known for a scary movie, right? He talked about it in a way that 50 didn't like. And that kind of made a little beef. That's boiling up a little beef. People are listening and they're watching that because it's negative. So, what positive stuff is out there in the media? Is hardly anything positive. In the news, it's bad news what gets reported. There's nothing positive getting promoted, really. And if you try to promote positivity, how far is it going? How far is it really going? And anybody who promotes positivity, they get either um, character assassination. Back in the days, it was a real assassination, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Right? That's what happened. They're promoting the positivity. Everybody, let's get along, let's integrate. And you see what happened to them. That was back then. Now they just will probably maybe set you up in a way that you look crazy, incriminate, try to incriminate you in something. That's what it is, and that's real life. But yeah, talking the news, down to earth podcast news. Please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Yeah, Only negative stuff is the stuff what's going to be viral. That's the only thing what's going to get the real attention. And that's facts, right? That's why Trump talks how he talks. That's how he gets his message across, Trump. Because if he doesn't do that, people will forget about him. He likes the spotlight. So most of his energy is negativity, right? I told you what he's doing with the anyone who comes to America, looking up all your social media, going in your phone and stuff like that. What is that? What is that? It's not just them, really, but I'm not surprised, man. I keep saying this over and over and over. It's called the New World Order. America is a big leader in the world. Trump represents that. So whatever America does, others follow. So now you're going to look on this now. A cashless system is coming, or it's kind of around in a way, right? These smart cities, it's around already, meaning they can monitor you, right? Everything you do when you purchase stuff, the list goes on. Uber's big now. These apps trace wherever you are. You have cell phones, they trace wherever you are. Everything is under Big Brother, no matter what you say, unless you live off grid. So there is an order. There is an order going on, right? You just have to have common sense to understand that. Now, for example, you think America ain't fighting a war? They are fighting a war. You think Canada ain't fighting a war? We are fighting a war. When you hear about Canada giving Ukraine $100 million or so to fight to Ukraine, that's to fight Russia. The only reason that guy, the president of Ukraine, went to America is to get assistance from America, even more. So they're doing a Cold War. The Cold War is still on because America is helping or was helping the Ukraine, and Canada is helping Ukraine with money. They're not going physically, but they're fighting Russia. Really look on it. It's a game. If we're giving billions of dollars to Ukraine, what are we giving it for? And people are like cold on in the streets suffering in Canada, poor, right? But we're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine for what? To fight Russia. So we are fighting through the economics. We are in the war. America, because Trump's there, he don't really want to say it, but he's been, or before him, they've been supporting Ukraine, giving weapons. What is that? You're fighting. You're fighting against Russia. Even if Russia's wrong for what they're doing, you're fighting against Russia in that way. So don't be fooled. There's a war going on. There's a war going on. They're just using different ways. America gives money to Ukraine or gives weapons to Ukraine. Canada gives money to Ukraine to buy weapons to use against Russia. You know how much soldiers died in Russia? Over 100,000 soldiers died. So down the line, people are going to revolt against the Russian president, but he doesn't care. By that time, maybe he'll be gone. They're going to revolt. You have over 100,000 and growing, so more soldiers dying from a war, which doesn't really make no sense other than they want to take over the country, right? That's what's going on. Bad, man, very bad. But world news, this is the down to earth news, people. And please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Yeah, a lot of things are going on in the world every day, every day. And I had to talk about Trump because he's one of the most colorful figures, and they call the American president the leader of the world. I heard that a long time ago. They called the American president the leader of the world, right? Some people may not care, some people may not look into this, but this affects your jobs, your money, your food, what you eat. The other day they were talking about clone meat. They want to shove that under the table like they didn't bring up clone meat the other day. They were talking about clone meat in Canada, legally putting it through without labeling it. And I heard they went, they doubled down back. But I can't trust that. All of a sudden you're not doing clone meat. There probably really is clone meat. That just slipped out that they're not gonna label what is clone meat. I heard about this fake meat 15 years ago. So even if they say they're not doing clone meat, they already announced that there's clone meat that they were going to put out. So it's just the backlash hearing from the people. They wanted to see the reaction, right? And they got a reaction. Where else? America already has clone meat down in America. So Canada put it out there that they're going to put clone meat out there, and then they took it down, or they whatever, double down on it. This is the stuff what's going on, man. This is the stuff what's going on, right? So what's next? What is next? There's news that China had a virus going on just like a month ago, saying that they have a virus thing going on, like a shutdown. No big news about that. The same thing was going on when the virus happened. They said that's going on right now. It was flu season stuff, right? They're saying that's going on now in China, and they put a travel advisory on China. How come that's not the biggest news? But something big happened just a couple years ago out of that region, and everywhere had to shut down. Everywhere had to shut down because of what was going around. And they're saying that's going on right now in China. Something's going on. And no one is talking about it really, but me. I'm talking about it. See, this channel, they will filter the hell out because I'm giving you the truth. Whatever I know and whatever I research or what they put out there, be it real or fake news, I'm gonna dissect it. Right? But they did put that out there. You see how they put things out there and they make it disappear. And if you bring it up, they think, oh, this guy's crazy. This conspiracy, we got to take it back. We can't. They're not ready for this fake meat, right? Oh, China, something's going on there. No, 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 no. Let's take that back. Let's kind of stop. Let's kill that. How much content makers are talking about what's going on in China right now, or what they reported going on in China with a virus and a travel advisory on China. That's what's going on. There's a travel advisory on China. So maybe Trump is doing something in a way, doing this whole thing about your whole traveling. They have to look everything up because he knows things are going on, right? He's old fashioned. He don't give a damn. He's the president for at least 3 more years, I guess. How long has he been president? It feels like he's been president for 2 years or so, but he still got a while. He's not going anywhere, right? He ain't going nowhere. And now the stuff what was going on in Africa, that's all quiet too. You don't hear nothing about what's going on with the guy who was doing the revolution, right? In Burkina Faso, right? Ibrahim Traore. You don't hear nothing about that. What's going on? He was fighting against the French, kicking out the French because he wants to be independent and make his country better. Nothing about that. Because you know what? Quietly, they probably are trying to still assassinate him. So, social media has filtered that out too. They're talking about it for a while, but damn, they ain't filtering that story out. I see certain content makers may have talked about it, but damn, especially where I'm from, Toronto, they don't talk about that shit. They're not talking about Burkina Faso. They're not talking about Ibrahim Traore. They're not talking about him. Psst. So the algorithm and the so-called shadow ban, what they do is true. It's facts. They do it. Because right now I could test it after this news episode. If it depends what you're talking about. If I talk about some celebrity shit after this, I'll see something different in the algorithm. 100%. 100%. You'll see something different. Especially if I talk about some really uh whatever celebrity controversial shit. You'll see it. But I think I said enough. A lot of information, a lot of news for you people. Please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. I'll be on later, right? With you never know what story I'm gonna bring up, and maybe more will tune in. Bless up.